Yo, Quantric, are we selling flat fire? Peeking.
Never
You're
mind.
gonna me.
Did Ventura die again?
Yeah, I PK'd him.
He's gonna one-shot us with that.
You attacked Helmet.
Oh, whoops. That was an accident, I
I'll
promise.
just go find.
The real challenge of the friendly fire event was outsmarting the event rules. Rule number 1, you need friends or a group of people to play with. This is because you could only deal damage on near 2 or more players, and to make it even more difficult, rule number 2, friendly fire is enabled, meaning you could accidentally, or on purpose, PK each other. But PoE players are going to do, well, PoE things, and quickly figured out ways to beat both rules. This means you could actually beat the event solo or kill monsters without PKing your party. Let me explain how, starting with the CI run. In the first run, I was grouped up with Ventura and Quantric, and we went for a full CI strat. In theory, we would all run chaos damage skills and freely attack without PKing each other. This ended up not being 100% true. The strat was, I would play an occultist with a Bane, Despair, Temp Chains combo, stack Curse Effect, and take Void Beacon for the minus 20% chaos resist aura. Since we were CI, the minus chaos resist aura wouldn't impact them and they would go Trickster with 1 step ahead, so Temp Chains wouldn't affect them either. In the meantime, they would run Poisonous Concoction because it does a ton of damage without gear and shadows are close to the required flask nodes. We would all run Withering Stuff for max Wither stacks on bosses, Discipline for ES pool, and Pure Developments for ailment immunity, especially because Ignite was very annoying to deal with. Our skill tree progression looked roughly like this. Take some early game damage nodes, Rush CI, Wicked Ward, and Essence Surge. As for our early gem progression, we all used Blight and Contagion, which is very smooth because we could out-heal each other's damage with potions or use the triangle formation on bosses. Following this, level 12, I picked up Essence Drain and it was actually really cool because I would cast ED and they could cast Contagion to clear packs, but this also means if they were standing too close, then some accidents could occur. Eventually, we were all CI and in theory, we were immune to each other's damage. However, there was one small detail that we overlooked. You must be unarmed to use Peaconk, and if you are unarmed, you will actually get flat physical damage to attacks. This means we can meaningfully damage each other, especially in the earlier acts. Theoretically, you could counter this with Wicked Ward and Energy Shield recharge rate to stay topped up, but in practice, since our ES pool is so small, every little hit could still be life-threatening. Another problem was constantly changing gear to use the latest Energy Shield bases. It was very difficult to cap res since most items were normal or magic. Despite the challenges, we persevered and made it to Act 5 Katava after 4 hours of gameplay, but decided to call it there due to time constraints. While there's plenty of room for improvement, mostly in early game optimization, we never tried the CI strategy again, because the next strategy, the Lightning Conduit strat, was clearly much stronger. What made the Lightning Conduit strat so good was its simplicity and a very unique interaction with the Friendly Fire rule set. The simplicity is because the only requirements are 1, an Elementalist Shockbot, and 2, Shock immunity on everyone else in the party via Purity of Elements. The Shockbot takes all Shock Effect, increased effect of non-damaging ailments, and cast speed. Everyone else goes Lightning Conduit with Elemental Overload, non-crit still lucky damage, and tons of % increased damage. In the first Lightning Conduit run, I grouped with Waggle and Hellman. The unique part about this run was definitely Waggle's take on the Shockbot and how well it worked. Waggle used Stormbrand to apply shock, and what was amazing about it was the Stormbrands would actually attach to Hellman and I, shocking the mobs in front of us, and then chaining even further with the non-projectile lightning skills chain additional time mastery, meaning we'd clear at a pretty decent pace while spamming lightning conduits left and right. In comparison to the CI run, the early game was a little riskier but also faster. We used a single rolling Magma Ellie Prolif carry with dual wand crafts. The 2 other players would throw Stormblast mines without detonating them for up to 150% increased damage taken to nearby enemies and players. Players affected by such a huge increased damage taken modifier, 1 or 2 misplaced rolling magmas could kill someone, and if that happened, we'd have to wait 1 minute for them to respawn before we could regroup as 3 and kill monsters again. To help avoid mistakes and keep monsters in place, especially bosses, we ran triple decoy totem. They were a useful distraction despite the fact that they would also die quickly. There are 3 witches, and witches don't get decoy totem, so Waggle actually multi-boxed a Templar to mule it for us. The run was mostly smooth, with a couple of mistakes.
Triple kill!
But we ended up killing Acting Katava in 4 hours, 21 minutes, and 35 seconds. This ended up being the rank 1 clear at the time, and by the end of the event, rank 3 overall. The next night, we went for another Lightning Conduit run with the addition of Quantric to the group and a couple of changes. We adapted our early game and ran 4 rolling magma carriers instead of 1. The mindset was, if we play good, we'll actually save time, as long as we didn't accidentally PK each other. We also adjusted our Ascendancy composition. Waggle stayed Elementalist Shockbot with Shaper of Storms. I stayed Lightning Conduit Elementalist with Mastermind of Discord. However, Element swapped to Lightning Conduit Occultist with dual Curse Conductivity LE Weakness, and Quantric played a LC Hierophant with 4 minimum endurance charges for tankiness. The Hierophant defense was key since we ran a 3-1 XP group and solo runner strat. Early on, the highest level would solo progress while the other 3 would farm. He would rotate out the solo runner so we could go forward ultra fast. But once Quantrix's Hierophant had enough survivability, he could stop XPing for the rest of the run and just blitz progression. This allowed the rest of us to overlevel and do tons of damage since we didn't have to specialize in mobility. This run ended up going much better.
Yeah, log out. I can't log out, but I can swirl.
No, you keep going. We'll swirl to you. We'll spawn outside. Oh. Did we do that again? It's okay. This is a short one. I'll leap there. I'll leap there. It's fine. Well, we still had some things to work on, but we ended up completing the run exactly 50 minutes faster, and we were quite happy with this time. I want to take this next section to highlight some of the really interesting strats some other teams did, starting with the solo jug. Yeah, that's right. A solo jug. Not 1, not 2, but 3 players soloed the event on a juggernaut. So how do you kill monsters solo in a league where you normally must have at least 2 other players to do so? Well, the secret is Thorns and Molten Shell. Possibly a bug, but reflected damage bypassed the rule set and could kill monsters solo. The most potent sources of reflected damage early game are Spiked Bulwark with 50 physical reflected melee attackers and Molten Shell, which primarily scales from armor. But there are a couple challenges to pull this off. First, you need level 4 to equip Molten Shell, but to get level 4, you need to farm Hillock. One player possibly even took this to the extreme and might have farmed an Onigoroshi before progressing with a Reflect Damage Chieftain. Also, imagine dropping a Bramblejack with this strat. Would be best in slot.
Because it bounces back the damage he does to you.
Oh my god! Dude! It dropped! Yes! Get in! Yes! 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 The Bramblejack!
Moving on, the other really cool build composition I wanted to highlight was the Max Block, Tempest Shield, Cast Damage Taken Arc, Reckoning Cyclone, Vengeance, Life Gain on Hit, Lightning Tendrils, Life Mana, and ES on Block, Max Block, Quadruple Guardian Party. Got that? No? Well, a simpler way to look at it is every time they hit each other even more, almost like a loop, and they don't PK each other due to their recovery mechanics. Now, I don't have any gameplay footage from them, but I imagine they use Cyclone to clear while moving, and on bosses use Lightning Tendrils since they always had max spell block. There are many other interesting strats that no one really did, and might be worth trying in the future if a similar event ever comes back, such as Night builds with Ignite immunity, Corrupting Fever builds with Corrupting Blood immunity, or Impending Doom builds with Curse and Chaos immunity. So I'm obviously a bit biased, but I enjoyed the 3 runs I did, the theorycraft involved, and watching some very unique strategies come to light. Even if they don't run a similar event in the future, I hope GGG continues to experiment and try weird things. You never really know what's going to hit. Anyways, the Crangled event is live right now. I'm looking forward to what crazy builds people will come up with. Thanks for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, have a great day, Exiles. Bye!